Yeah, I can find out. I remember asking Ryan.
Yeah. I wish I could do magnifying glass. I know it's small. The map.
6:30 p.m. We will call this meeting to order. Before we do begin, if everyone would please check their microphone to make sure that the green light is lit. Please do not touch the microphone itself to speak. Press your other button, please. We just want to make sure everyone can hear us. As well as please make sure the microphone is right in front of your mouth, if you would, so that everyone that's watching on YouTube will be able to hear okay. So thank you for the cooperation for that. I appreciate it. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Ronnie Bush.
Here.
Samuel Newton. Luann Hayes.
Here.
Casey Anthony.
Present.
William Hadley.
Here.
Jim Hart.
Here.
Kurt Cocaine.
Here.
Adam Modero.
Here.
Larry Jogers.
Here.
Brooke Deininger.
Here.
Scott Holmes.
Here.
Jackie DeMeester.
Here.
Nicole Baker.
Here.
Steve Frick.
Present.
Brian Brandt.
Present.
Tim Whalen.
Yes, ma'am.
15 present, 1 absent.
All right, very good. Thank you. Mr. Whalen, would you lead the prayer, and Mrs. Hayes, would you lead the pledge?
Okay. Lord God Almighty, I thank you for the opportunity.
Prayer led by area pastors, government officials, and community leaders. This year's special music is provided by Carl and Diana Cole and Steve Shepley. Breakfast is free of charge. Due to limited seating, RSVP by emailing rdlein@aol.com or by calling my wife Debbie at 297-2918. At 7 p.m., Freeport Evening National Day of Prayer service will be held at the Father's House on Stephenson Street here in Freeport. National Day of Prayer has been set by Congress the first Thursday of May every year. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'm sorry, Mr. Modero. I apologize.
I'm easy to overlook.
Meeting at Modero, Northwest Illinois Outbound Society, Boy Scout, General Outdoor Enthusiast. Board members, I've provided you a little reading material on moving cranes. I've become very familiar with birds since I met my wife, who made it very clear that birds take priority over just about everything else. Moving cranes are fascinating. First of all, they're birds that are this tall, which is always delight to see. But more importantly, at one point they were down to 15. 15 in the world. And there have been a number of efforts to bring them back. And we've seen various points of success on the West Coast. There are upwards of 500 by some estimates. But here, in what's regarded as the east migration pattern, we're up to 73, give or take. And that sounds low, but again, compared to 15, that is a fantastic comeback. And I bring this up because here in Stephenson County is one of the common places that'll stop on their migration. So you have the opportunity to see these extremely rare birds. On top of that, it speaks to the conservation efforts and organizations that we have in our community. Stephenson County has a long history of encouraging outdoor activities and environmental awareness, from the Audubon Society to Boy Scouts and a number of other things. Right now, that Audubon Society, 50 years on, is still bringing back prairie, creating environments full of birds, not just the whooping cranes, but all kinds of others, leading walks for anyone who loves birds or would like to learn more. I want to give a special shout out to a friend of mine, Luke Kramer, who is taking it upon himself to teach outdoor education at Carl Sandburg Middle School here in Freeport. We have an active interest, and if we can continue that, maintain that, we can see more success stories like this. There are 73 whooping cranes coming to our area right now. If you're lucky, you get to see some of them. 15 of them were born in the wild. And again, those are dismal numbers, but it's much, much better than it used to be, and it's because of efforts like go on in our community that is allowed to happen. So I just, more than anything, I want you to know, be aware, and keep your eyes open. If you see a bird about this tall, see how close you can get. Just don't touch it.
Anyone else for public comments? Okay. So the best part of this job, I think, is being able to recognize Stephenson County employees for their dedication and their service to all of us, the taxpayers. And tonight is one of those great occasions where we get to recognize Cheryl Cormicon. Cheryl, would you mind coming up here, please? Cheryl has been an employee of
I don't take that well.
and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I have that you've been an employee for almost 19 years here at the county.
19.
Looks like you started August 2nd in 2005 as a floor nurse. November 19th of 2009, you became the MDS coordinator, which I wasn't sure what that was, but it's minimum.
That's how you get reimbursed.
There you go, minimum data set coordinator. June 17th of 2010, you became the assistant director of nursing. I'm looking at you like you don't know this. September of 2012, you became the director of nursing, which you've held that role ever since, I believe, right?
I went to the administrator for that short
Well,
period, but went back to where I
I'm
want to
getting
be.
there. I'm getting there. So yes, in December of 2018, the county board made a good decision and put you in place as the administrator of the nursing home up until February of 2020 when you went back to your role of director of nursing. To me though, and I've known you since 2016, I believe, in my opinion, your greatest achievement has been all of this, but it's more how you've cared for the residents and the staff that reported to you. You've always been willing to do above and beyond what was necessary and far exceeded what your job description was. So I have a very small token, but appreciation certificate thanking you for your dedication and service to all the residents at the nursing home, and employees, and everybody in Stephenson County. So thank you very, very much for everything you've done. You bet. Would you like to say something?
Those are some good people out there, and I've stayed here because they are. There's a core there that's willing to step up. Not just myself. We are a team. We've been a team. I'm a good leader. I can say that. I like to lead. I like to boss people around. And I hope somebody replaces me that can do the same, because they're a good bunch, and they'll work hard. They'll give you everything. I just want to thank you.
You bet. And when is your last day?
May 1st.
May 1st. So if you get a chance to see Cheryl, please thank her for everything she's done. So thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, next we have a presentation by Greater Freeport Partnership. Andrea Winter is here. If you would please come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I will also be joined on this presentation with Nicole Hass, our Marketing and Brand Director. Good evening and thank you for having us. Tonight's agenda will be covering the partnership strategic planning effort to date. We'll also be talking about our efforts and our highlights of our efforts in the first quarter. What Nicole is passing out to you is a presentation basically highlighting, it's in lieu of slides. So, and it's also was found in the first quarter report that I know was already distributed. The partnership is still in transition. We've not completed our strategic planning process, as I know you're all familiar with it. You've recently gone through it. And we will also be hiring 2 new staff members. But key milestones that have happened to date. The partnership staff and board engaged in a day-long strategic planning process with Eric Dregney. I will circle back to a little bit more on this shortly. The partnership was also awarded Best Tourism Marketing Campaign in Illinois. Nicole will elaborate on this later. And we welcomed Robert Bush as a partnership board member. We are excited to have him come on board. His first board meeting will be next week. Looking ahead, as stated earlier, we'll be hiring 2 positions at the partnership, administrative and a development position. We actually have extended an offer and that has been accepted for the administrative role. That individual will start at the beginning of May. We are going to finalize our strategic and economic development strategy plan, and if you're willing, we would like to present both to you next month. Circling back to our strategic planning process at the end of February, the partnership board and staff engaged in a day-long strategic planning process. From the process, the key focus areas were outlined. So in the slide that you have before you, business retention and expansion, new business development and attraction, marketing the region, visitor attraction, advocacy and policy, and building GFP capacity. Moving forward, you will see our work broken down and categorized in these key focus areas. And that's how we will report out to you. At the end of March, staff met with Eric to draft an implementation plan which outlines strategies under each focus area and identifies progress measures. Currently, we are working through the revision process, and our goal, again, is to have the strategic plan, goals, strategy, and progress measures that will finished that will be approved by the partnership board on a board meeting next week on April 24th. And highlights of our work in the first quarter. In business retention and expansion, we continue to meet with employers that are repeatedly hearing about the lack of trained workforce as the key issue. We'll talk more about how we're addressing this issue on the next slide. Again, the enterprise zone, which we administer, continues to be the most useful tool for renovation and expansion. There was over $280,000 in private capital investment in Stephenson County's area of the enterprise zone in the first quarter of this year. Workforce solutions. As mentioned, workforce is the key issue for our employers. So in the past quarter, we've met with service providers to ensure we are up to date on their programs and understand the services they offer so we can accurately refer and connect employers. Last Thursday, we hosted a manufacturing roundtable where area manufacturers met with Highland, Freeport High School, and Career Tech to discuss educational pathways and how students can gain an awareness of career opportunities in manufacturing industries. Lastly, cruise night will look a little different this year with an expanded workforce angle. We are working with Career Tech and Highland Community College to appeal to youth with interest in automotive trades through demonstration and vendors with workforce opportunities. Related to new business development and attraction, we received 37 leads in the first quarter. 27 of those leads originated from Intersect, Illinois. We could respond and did respond to 5. 10 leads originated from local businesses and or government agencies. 5 were new businesses that were looking to move to the area. 5 were existing businesses that were looking to expand or relocate within the area. We are following up and actively working on those 15 active leads. We are continuing to schedule meetings with landowners to discuss areas where future development could occur. And last two nights ago, we celebrated the culmination of our base camp. We held a graduation ceremony for our base camp participants. These class participants have gone through a 10-week, 5-session training to really understand the foundation of building a strong business. We touched upon business plan, financial planning, marketing, legal structures, insurance. Tuesday night, we held a pitch competition. Seven individuals participated, and we were able to present $2,800 in prize money to the top 4 finalists. We will offer this class again in the first quarter of 2025. I'm now going to briefly turn the presentation over to Nicole, who's going to talk about marketing the region and visitor attraction.
Good evening. As Andrea said, key focus areas that the partnership will continue to present to each of you look a little different than how we talk about marketing. A lot of times when we talk about marketing, people automatically assume visitor, but that's not how you're going to see it represented from here forward. Marketing the region in just this one section means how we are positioning Freeport and Stephenson County for businesses, for business attraction, and also for workforce and resident attraction. So as you continue to see more information, just kind of have that lens that marketing the region means more business focus, and visitor attraction is, well, exactly that. So in marketing the region, with this finalization of the strategic plan, you're going to see more come out about the mission, vision, and inclusion statements of the partnership and what that means to our organization going forward and the businesses who continue to work for the development of our region. Also, since we serve such diverse audiences, subcommittees are formed for both tourism, economic development, and business, as well as community outreach. And that also allows us to gain a lot more public input from each of those committees. We love hearing from more people who have a real key interest in each of those focus areas. Our first event of the year was Art to Galen Art Walk, which is a downtown event. We point this one out because it is hosted by the partnership, but we feel very strongly that events are a great way to market the region. It shows that there are things to do here. It's a great way to build on the diversity of our area, not just through our events, but from what other municipalities offer as well. And we have several more coming up. The Stephenson County Home Show is this Saturday, which helps both businesses and residents. And then you'll see the event season kind of kick off from there with Pretzel Fest, Stephenson County Restaurant Week, and many more. Our beautification efforts also fall within marketing the region because people want to live in a place that looks very hospitable. So this year and very soon, you will see new banners downtown Freeport, as well as continued maintenance and planting with a new contract downtown. And we just finished our first countywide cleanup of the year, had over 70 volunteers help pick up different regions of Stephenson County, not just Freeport, and we really appreciate all their efforts, especially this very first cleanup of the year. Rolling into visitor attraction, you all know about the first one because you were the first people I got to tell as I returned from Peoria with the award for Best Tourism Marketing Campaign, and we continue to receive great accolades about what a small region can do to really make our mark in a state that is really developing a great home for tourism. Our 2024 campaign kind of expands on what we have done in the past with Choose Your Adventure, so highlighting both historic and shopping destinations on top of the trails that we have been pushing for the last couple of years. We have not had grants announced officially for 2024, but based on some of the communications we're having with the state office, we are hopeful that that grant will come to fruition again this year. Also, as you'll see in the actual quarterly report that came out earlier this month, the hotel occupancy for 2024 is on par with 22 and 23. Actually, in the month of March, it was ahead of 23 at this time. And hotel operators are attributing that to the fact that the spring has come a little early. So therefore, the construction crews and things are able to return to the area. And that's our business travel. Thank you.
Last, we're going to finish up with building GFP capacity. And that's just reporting out of our membership statistics. We have 427 members currently. We have 18 new members since the beginning of 2024, and our membership retention rate, which we're very proud of, is 98.5%. So people find value in what we're doing, and they're continuing to pay their membership. So, and with that concludes our presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your attention.
Anyone have any questions? Mrs. Hayes, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. With the Art to Scale Walk and all the other events that are coming up, do we know what the overnights, how many overnights those festivals bring in every year?
Every event has a different goal. Art to Scale Walk is not necessarily a tourism goal, so it does not put as many heads in beds, as they say. We don't have an occupancy goal for that particular event. It's really about drumming up business and increasing sales for downtown businesses and getting people to get out of their house for the first time, potentially all year. So Pretzel City Wine Fest is somewhat similar, but with a little farther expanded reach, but again, not tourism. Our real tourism-focused events in the past have been Cruise Night and Brewfest. That's where we see people come from far enough away that it necessitates an overnight stay.
Considering that you're funded by the hotel motel tax in our county, I'm just wondering what your plans are to increase that, to increase what you can do. I mean, stagnant, steady compared to 22 and 23, to me is a loss. Because you should be expanding every year to get more hotel motel tax into our community. You need to have a plan as to what your goals are and how you're going to get there to get more money into the community.
Absolutely, and actually that's part of the strategic plan. Once it's presented in its entirety, is to review all of the events to look at the goals of each one. Some are quality of life that really do market the region and hopefully bring business in for businesses. Those are the smaller events. But looking at which ones really fill hotels and where our organization continues to put its funds is a goal of this year as we continue. Now, none of those events are going to change this year because people count on those for their retail sales and things like that. However, going forward, we don't want to be an organization either that hinges our success on events. It's really about the campaign to bring people here, not just for one day, but any day that they want to come and spend time.
Great. I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. We have two proclamations, the approval of National Day of Prayer and approval of a bait. I'll read those real quick here. Is there anyone from Mr. Leininger? You're here for National Day of Prayer, is that correct? All right, I will read this. Whereas the Stephenson County Board recognizes that the United States of America was founded by the precepts of freedom, liberty, diversity, and the right of people to acknowledge God according to the dictates of their own conscience, and whereas since our nation's founding, Americans have turned to God in times of trial for wisdom, courage, direction, comfort, and at the same time to express gratitude. And whereas this is a time of international distress, we give thanks for the men and women of our military who stand as watchmen on the wall to defend our nation and future of democracy and civilization. And whereas even though this is a time of uncertainty and distress, we give thanks that the United States of America has been blessed beyond measure. We are continually grateful for our families, the abundance of our land, and the inalienable rights and liberties. And whereas the President of the United States has called on all citizens to seek God's continued guidance, grace, and protection for this land, and to reaffirm the role of prayer in our society, and to honor the religious diversity that our freedom permits by recognizing the second day of May 2024 as a National Day of Prayer with the theme of liberty and justice for all. Therefore, in recognition of Stephenson County's need for inspiration, strength, guidance, and divine direction, I, Scott Helms, Chairman of the Stephenson County Board, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, as a National Day of Prayer in Stephenson County. I invite all Stephenson County residents to pray for God's protection, for peace throughout the world, and to seek a moral and spiritual renewal and to express gratitude for our blessings. I urge the citizens of Stephenson County to join in observing this day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Is there a motion to approve? By Mr. Newton, second by Mr. Jogurst. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, any opposed?
Aye.
One in opposition, motion carries. The next proclamation is for abate. Whereas safety is the highest priority for the highways and streets of our village and state, and whereas the great state of Illinois is proud to be a national leader in motorcycle safety, education, and awareness, and whereas motorcycles are a primary, common, and economical means of transportation that reduces fuel consumption and road wear and contributes in a significant way to the relief of traffic and parking congestion. And whereas it is especially meaningful that the citizens of our village and state be aware of motorcycles on roadways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety. And whereas the members of ABATE of Illinois, a brotherhood aimed towards education, continually promote motorcycle safety, education, and awareness in high school driver's education programs and to the public in our village and state, presenting motorcycle awareness programs to over 120,000 participants in Illinois over the past 7 years. And whereas all motorcyclists should join ABATE of Illinois in actively promoting the safe operation of motorcycles, as well as promoting motorcycle safety, education, awareness, and respect of the citizens of our villages and state. And whereas motorcyclists of Illinois have contributed extensive volunteerism and money to national and community charitable organizations, and whereas during the month of May, all roadway users should unite in the safe sharing of roadways within the county of Stephenson and throughout the great state of Illinois. Therefore, I, Scott Helms, chairman of the Stephenson County Board in the great state of Illinois, in recognition of 37 years of ABATE of Illinois and over 352,318 registered motorcyclists statewide, and in recognition of the continued role Illinois serves as a leader in motorcycle safety, education, and awareness, do hereby proclaim the month of May this year, 2024, as Motorcycle Awareness Month in the County of Stephenson, and urge all motorists to join in an effort to improve safety and awareness on our roadways. Is there a motion to approve?
So motion to approve.
Mr. Jogers, second by Mr. Hart. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Excuse me one second. All right, we have 3 appointments. The first is an appointment of Nicole Baker and Brian Brandt to the County Farmland Assessment Review Committee, and a third of the appointment of Richard Hauser to the Freeport Rural Fire District. How would the board like to handle these appointments?
All together.
Is that a motion, Mr. Copeland?
Yes, motion to second.
Let's slow down for a second. What exactly is your motion, Mr.
Motion
Copeland?
to approve them all together.
All right, Mr. Hart, is that your second?
Yes, it is.
All right, any discussion on these? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all 3 appointments passed. We will now move on to unfinished business. Review and approval of resolution declaring Stephenson County as a non-sanctuary county and urging the state legislature to repeal the Trust Act. Mr. Jogers, are you prepared to present this?
I believe so, Chairman.
Thank you.
So, the only thing I see that needs to be changed is today's date needs to be on there. Shall I read this? All right, resolution declaring the Stephenson County a non-sanctuary county and urging the state legislature to repeal the Trust Act. Whereas Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution gives Congress the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, and whereas it is the duty of Congress to establish all laws and rules regarding naturalization. And whereas the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified on July 9, 1869, and states that all people who are either born in the United States or have completed the naturalization process are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. And whereas the volume of migrants and illegal immigrants in Chicago and voluntary sanctuary cities are overwhelming social service agencies and straining community resources to the point that the state of Illinois has channeled more than $62.5 million of taxpayer funds in fiscal years 2023 and 2024 to the city of Chicago and nearby suburban communities to support these individuals. And whereas Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, despite declaring Chicago as a sanctuary city and accepting taxpayer funding from the state of Illinois, has failed and refused to adequately address the needs of migrants and illegal immigrants. And whereas bus services have been retained to drop off large number of migrants and illegal immigrants, including children, without warning at unpredictable hours and in all weather conditions in a manner that leaves the individuals exposed to great risk and the communities in which they arrive unprepared to assist them adequately. And whereas those crossing into the United States via the southern border are declaring themselves as asylum seekers who then live in this country for several years prior to their court hearing. And whereas the majority of those claiming to be asylum seekers are denied asylum status, and at that point they are then in this country illegally. And whereas Illinois law enforcement is governed by the 2017 Illinois Trust Act, which largely prohibits law enforcement entities in Illinois from coordinating with federal immigration officials on immigration enforcement operations, thus making Illinois a de facto sanctuary state for migrants and illegal immigrants. And whereas local law enforcement in Illinois is responsible for protecting the people in the communities they serve, which requires the assistance and cooperation of the community and other law enforcement entities so necessary information to help solve and deter crime can be gathered. And whereas through the Trust Act, local law enforcement may not enter into immigration enforcement agreements with federal immigration authorities. And whereas there is no express or an inherent authority under Illinois law that permits state or local law enforcement officials to enforce federal immigration law. And whereas local law enforcement officials in Illinois may not stop, arrest, search, or detain an individual on the sole basis of their immigration status. And whereas Stephenson County wishes to join other communities and law enforcement agencies that are concerned with the lack of a federal or state comprehensive plan for the provision of services to migrants and illegal immigrants by taking a proactive approach to managing the arrival and housing of migrants and illegal immigrants in their communities. And whereas Stephenson County also wishes to join communities such as Schaumburg, Elk Grove Village, and Rosemont, which have passed ordinances or resolutions prohibiting or restricting the arrival of buses carrying migrants and illegal immigrants, and limiting the expenditure of taxpayer funds on those individuals by enforcing current zoning laws and fire codes, and by taxing the use of hotels, motels, warehouses, etc., for the extended use by migrants and illegal immigrants. And whereas Stephenson County, by declaring itself a non-sanctuary county, pledges to prioritize the expenditure of taxpayer funds to its legal residents in need, including senior citizens, families living below the poverty level, veterans, the homeless, the disabled, and those in need of social services already here in Stephenson County. Therefore, be it resolved by the County of Stephenson, a unit of local government, by and through the Stephenson County Board, we declare ourselves a non-sanctuary county and urge the Illinois legislature to repeal the Illinois Trust Act and restore local law enforcement officials' ability to coordinate with federal immigration officers on immigration issues. Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
By Mr. Whalen. Mr. Newton,
Roll call vote, please. Roll call vote.
are you calling the question? Or are we just requesting that when we do vote, when everyone's done speaking, that we do a roll call vote? Pardon?
Yes, when we do vote.
Okay, very good. Anything else, Mr. Newton?
No, other than since I've got the floor.
Could you pull your microphone just a little closer, please? Thank you.
Since I do have the floor, I think that us trying to change state legislative law and trying to make rules based on what Chicago is accepting or not accepting, these things have not been a problem for our community, and I just don't think that it's something that we need to spend time and make rules and regulations for. But that's all I have this time, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Hayes.
I would like to ask my fellow board members this evening to allow me to abstain from this vote. My job is 100% grant funded by the state of Illinois, and I do feel that this is a conflict of interest, and I would like to abstain from voting.
Is there consensus to allow Mrs. Hayes to abstain? If so, would you please raise your hand? So we have 1, 2, is your hand up? 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Okay, I'm sorry.
She can still abstain, she just forfeited her per diem.
So, did you catch that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Mrs. Hayes? Okay, Mr. Modero.
I concur with Mr. Newton's point. I think this is punching at shadows. This is fear of a hypothetical. It's responding to a thing that hasn't directly come to bear on our community. And I think even in theory, to say that we absolutely refuse without considering options, without seeing what the county would actually be asked of, I think this is a massive overreaction to, again, a hypothetical situation. I've got a lot of specifics that I think would warrant discussion and debate, but I don't even see the point in that, because this is an abstract fear. I was against it in committee, I'm against it here.
Anything else, Mr. Modero?
Not this time.
All right, Mrs. Anthony.
Thank you. Excuse me. We just passed a strategic vision that starts with Stephenson County as a prosperous and welcoming community where families from all backgrounds enjoy high-quality homes and safe, sustainable neighborhoods in both urban and rural settings. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of what it takes to enter this country illegally. Even when you do, it takes something like a year and a half then to get a work permit. Those are the issues that we should be talking about. And we can't do anything about it, but urging the Congress to look at those issues. And I know that there's groups that are doing that because, when it says in this resolution that they seek asylum status, and then it goes away, then they're here illegally, the process to become legal is cumbersome. So just, make sure you keep that in mind. Also, it's true, migrants have tripled population-wise, if you're just looking at even just education numbers, okay? I mean, we know that more are coming in. It's been happening, it's gonna continue to happen, but there are also people in place that are helping them get services so that we, as a county board, it hasn't really touched us yet. We have the Illinois Migrant Council here in Freeport that helps provide those services and help connect and do those things. We have churches in Stephenson County that are doing the same. They're not coming to government because, there's fear there, understandably. But make sure you also understand that there's people in here that are welcoming people from all backgrounds, regardless of status, and helping them establish. There are numerous businesses in our area that the people coming are their workforce, and they're looking for ways to help them gain legal status because they're a valuable part of their workforce. All of those things, just being educated about what's already happening in Stephenson County is very, very important. And again, I agree, I'm gonna have to vote no on this because this isn't going to hold up anywhere, right? We're just passing it and saying, here we're gonna say we are, but there's nothing that we can do about it. In 2017, when Governor Rauner signed this, he says, Illinois has been welcoming of immigrants for a long time, and this bill will continue that tradition. And so if you truly think there needs to be changes to the Trust Act, please call your legislators. Go about it the right way. This is not the right way if you want to make changes. Thank you.
Mr. Brandt.
I'm 100% in favor of this resolution. I'd like to begin with a sad but true story, a factual story. It was a beautiful day back in February to go out for a jog on the University of Georgia campus. Lakin Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student, had her entire life ahead of her. Instead, she was allegedly killed by a Venezuelan who entered this country illegally. The alleged murderer was a gang member who had been previously arrested by both federal and state officials in multiple jurisdictions, including failing to appear in court for a charge of shoplifting. Shocking? No, not shocking at all. At the very least, we owe Lakin Riley and other victims the use of proper titles when discussing the details of this heinous crime. In fact, the suspect was an immigrant. The suspect is not a migrant. Migrants come and then they go home. An immigrant has no intention of ever going home. In fact, he was illegal. He violated the law when he entered the U.S. illegally in September of 2022. I find it repulsive, absolutely repulsive, that our president, in his hindsight, regretted using the term illegal in his State of the Union address to frame undocumented instead. Absolutely not. Say it like it is. The suspect is an illegal immigrant. You know, laws have purpose. In society, laws are rules to keep peace and order. From laws comes safety. Everyone must obey laws, not just some, not just a few, but everyone. Imagine for a moment if everyone disobeyed, as in like completely ignored stop signs or stoplights and just proceeded through the intersection with no regard to safety for anyone else. How about going the wrong way on a one-way road? Offenders, by ignoring the law, usually end up killing innocent law-abiding citizens. All laws, not just traffic laws, are for all people all the time, even immigrants. Immigration laws are no exception. Immigrants rather need to get a work visa or get a green card, just come to the U.S. legally. Of course, sanctuary cities like Chicago exist. Their laws are defiant of federal immigration laws and actually protect illegal immigrants from deportation and prosecution. Evidently, the city of Chicago doesn't believe in laws for all people all the time. It's equivalent to watching that rogue driver careen down the one-way road headed straight at you because they don't have to follow the law. To be sure, the open border policy by the Biden administration means illegal immigrants are being literally trained starting on day one of being in our country that you don't really have to follow all the laws. If illegal immigrants find Chicago, or perhaps better said, the laws of Chicago desirable, then that's where they should go. Remember, to defy a law is in itself unlawful. Just like Athens, Georgia, the hardworking, law-abiding citizens of Stephenson County are owed a lawful society where they can go out on a job without fear. I'm not in favor of using our schools or our libraries or even an abandoned building as a hostel, or for straining our precious resources that we provide essential services countywide with. But let me be crystal clear on something. All are welcome in Stephenson County with just one simple requirement. They follow the law. Obey all the laws. That means obeying the laws starting at the U.S. border. I encourage you to join me in voting for this resolution. Our community, our citizens, our entire county is owed it. Lakin Riley is owed it too. May she rest in peace. How would you vote if Lakin Riley was your daughter? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt. Mr. Jogerst.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Mr. Brandt said most of what I was thinking. Appreciate his thoughts on that. Clearly, we've got a Washington, D.C. and a Springfield that is not following rule of law. All of us on this county board took an oath to support and defend the Constitution and to protect our citizens. So that's what we're doing here. Yes, this thing will go down to the legislature. Hopefully they'll pay attention and they'll make a change to that trust act because we need to get the violent offenders out of here. I mean, I'm not even going to waste a whole bunch of time talking about all the drugs, all the crime, all the other issues that have been caused by this open border, willful open border. If you want to see what the future of Stephenson County is, just look over at what's going on in Chicago. They've got all kinds of people all over the place. It's ruining the city. What they're doing is they're trying to backfill people that have left that, I'll call the city, so they can keep their power and their money based on the census, because the U.S. Census counts U.S. citizens and any resident, whether they're legal or not. And that goes into the House of Representatives, and it goes into the Electoral College. So we can talk about how wonderful it is to be generous and all this other stuff, but the people that have caused this issue, it's all about the power, it's all about the money, and it's got to stop. Thank you.
Ms. Deininger.
Clearly, I'm just going to point a few things out. It's about the money. We can't take care of the people in our community, the homeless, the veterans. The United States can't take care of the homeless or the veterans. For me, as a small business owner, which everyone in this room knows, inflation is through the roof. And frankly, my tax dollars would serve my veterans in this community and the homeless better than paying for someone who is illegally in this country. My neighbors that are right across the street from me did it the right way. They came here the right way. We, as a country and as a county and as a city, unfortunately, have no funds to support.
Ms. Anthony, for a second time.
Thank you. I'd like to just make an amendment that should this pass and the vote count be added to the resolution, please.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
By Mr. Modero. Is there discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. The amendment passes. We'll move back to the original motion as amended. Mr. Hart.
I just want to start by saying and doing something that I normally wouldn't do, because I very firmly believe in the separation of church and state. I would like to read a short, brief Leviticus 19:33-34. When an alien resides with you in your land, you shall not oppress the alien. The alien who resides with you be to you as the native born among you, and you shall love the alien as yourself. For you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. I could obviously go on and on, but I think there's an important part of this that is related to the humanity and how welcoming we are or not. Much has just been said, and I agree with that. Some of it I don't. We're not in Chicago. We're not in the suburbs. This is Stephenson County, and I'm not saying that we haven't had an increase in migrants and that this isn't something that we need to look at. I just simply do not believe that this is the way to approach it. As far as anecdotal instances from other states and other places, most people that are murdered in this country are obviously murdered by United States citizens. They're not murdered by illegal immigrants. That's the exception that proves the rule. The immigrant population has proven to be less violent and less crime-ridden than we are as Americans. The reason for the Trust Act originally, going back to Chicago, which I have some familiarity with, was the whole point of this was to have law enforcement be more effective in the community, be able to address any violent crime that's happening in that community without those people being afraid of being deported or penalized in some way. It facilitates the police working with the community and making us all safer. That was the point of the Trust Act. And that was an issue for many, many years until Governor Rauner signed that into law. That may need work, but that's not work that will get done here, obviously. I don't have the answer to one of the main questions I have. Back in January, I had supported and made it public I was supporting and wanted to sign and vote for an ordinance that we had, which prevented or attempted to prevent busloads of migrants from showing up and are not having the resources to accommodate that. I was very concerned with having a humanitarian disaster and all the other things that surround that. So, I don't know why that was pulled. I'd like to ask if anybody knows why we didn't go forward with the ordinance, which actually does something, as opposed to a resolution which just laments something. Mr. Chairman, can you enlighten us on that, or anybody? I don't know. I just don't know. It's an honest question.
Sure, it's not germane to what the motion on the floor is, though. So we'll move on if you don't have anything else. Motion on the floor is pertaining to the resolution in front of us, not something from a few months ago.
Okay, well, I'm just making the point that I think there is a much, much better way to approach this. That would have been a much better way. This is not the way forward. And all of the constituents I've talked to are very much against this. Someone asked me a day or two ago, have you got many phone calls? No, I only got one phone call this week, but I've had a lot of emails, texts, conversations, people at meetings, and I really haven't had anyone come to me and say, I want you to vote for this. So for that reason and for my own beliefs, I'm going to have to vote against this. Thank you.
Mr. Newton for a second time.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's unfortunate that we're taking this much time to discuss this resolution that actually it needs to happen towards DC, because there's nothing that we can do with this resolution to slow down what has been a problem in the U.S. And it's a U.S. problem because these migrants are not showing up here because they want to travel all the way to Chicago. They're traveling here because there are political issues happening at the national level to exasperate this problem. I mean, we know they're coming across, but the attempt to fix this should have been aimed at a resolution to get our congressmen to vote on this. They almost had a resolution, but because it's a political year, let's not play games, it's a political election year. And so fixing the problem is the problem. And so no one wants to fix it on the current president's watch, but it shouldn't be his issue. It should be an American issue. And so a resolution like this should be aimed at our congressmen to do the right thing, which is put something in place that will stiffen up our border. We can't get that done till after November because there are political issues saying let's not get involved. So I'm opposed to passing this resolution to attack our Chicago legislators or whatever for having to deal with what's being sent their way. I don't think they sent a bus anywhere close to the border to pick up people. They're just dealing with what is the political fallout. So that's all I want to share, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes.
Mr. Jogers for a second time.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for everybody's knowledge, the change to the Trust Act was requested by our law enforcement, local law enforcement, and that's why it's included, and that's why it needs to go down to the legislators down there, and hopefully they can make that change. Point number 2, Scripture is awesome, but when you take it out of the context, it doesn't mean what it says. Yes, they were supposed to treat the foreigners correctly, but part of that whole section of Scripture was when you come into that nation, you abide by the rules, you abide by those laws as part of being there. If you don't, you were cast out. So you can't just pick and choose a couple verses out of the Bible and try to make it say what you want. just to clarify that. Lastly, a couple of the items that were taken out of the resolution before were there's 64, at least 64 items that the Biden administration changed on their own that they could fix today. So we don't have to wait for another election. We don't have to wait anything. They could fix this thing yesterday, but they chose not to. And so, you know, the onus is on them. So just getting the facts out there. Thank you.
Mr. Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Newton, I want to make a t-shirt out of that. That was fantastic. Fixing the problem is a problem. I'm serious. That was a very astute statement that I'm going to remember a long time, because our political class has seemed to relish in that opportunity for many years now. Unfortunately, they fix very few problems and create more and more. Anyway, I'm going to be for this resolution, obviously, but I believe taking a public stand is an important thing on an issue like this, and to be public about that and say, look, this is wrong, what's going on in this country. We are being overwhelmed. We are being invaded by a people from all over the country that are being let in this country illegally by our government. Now, I agree there's other things we should be doing. We should have an ordinance. I'm 100% behind that part. I think we should take a stand as even a lower magistrate board to say, look, what you're doing at the state level in the Trust Act is, in my opinion, unconstitutional. Not allowing our law enforcement to do their job. What you're doing at the federal level, Mr. President, Mr. Congress, why are you not doing something about this? This is an aberration of reality. People, we cannot do this. Our country will not stand. It will not be the same if this continues for even 4 or 5 more years. I don't think we're going to be the same as a result of what's happened over the last 4 when it comes to fruition. Because these people are all going to end up voting. They're all going to end up, that's really the overall goal here. Let's be honest. By letting them in. And I have no issues with anybody. I'm completely with some of the other statements that were here. If you want to come here legally, God bless you. I understand the desire to be in this country. It's an amazing place. And I would encourage anybody from anywhere to come here, but do it legally. If you come here illegally and start from that standpoint, what purpose do you have to follow other laws, right? And I think that's a big thing. When I think about raising my boys, I'm not going to teach them it's okay to talk back to their coach or their teacher or because it's wrong. Simply, if I allow that to happen, what kind of dad am I? So I encourage you folks to really think through this. I believe this is good to take a stand as a body, as individuals who represent leadership in this community, to say, no, we are not for this. We are not for the inundation of people coming in here. And I want to back up Mr. Joverson on something. When you look at Scripture, it is always about the individual. If somebody wants to house 20 illegal immigrants or 20 people from another country, or for whatever reason, great, go do it. But when you're talking about taking other people's money and giving it to other people just because you feel bad for them, or for whatever reason, you have to take that very seriously, I think, as leaders, right? And to me, this at least takes a stand. It's a starting point. I don't believe it's a finishing point. I think we need to do more, but I will definitely be voting for it to try and send a message to our congressmen, to our senators, to our president, and whoever else will listen, because it's ridiculous what's going on right now. And it can't continue, folks. It cannot continue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Copley.
Yes, my daughter is an immigrant. We went over to China. We had to do a bunch of immigration papers. Took a long time. And she's a naturalized United States citizen. I am for legal immigration, but I'm not for illegal immigration. There's been, last year, Sheriff's Department stopped over 50 vehicles, and several of them contained illegal immigrants. And there's not a thing you can do about it. If they domestic battery, they're not deported, get into an accident, they have no insurance. The thing is, there's more crime committed, even though it's the same. You have more people, but they're not here illegally. That's all.
All right, Mr. Modero for a second time, I believe.
I just want to make a point of clarification based on some of the implication of some comments. It's not a military, it's not an armed force that we're talking about in very large percentage. It's folks that are desperate. It's families that are starving. It's people that had no other option. Not suggesting that's all of them, but there are not also a military force. Let's be clear on how we're talking about people, actual people, many of whom have no other option. And it's an inconvenience to be the only option, but it's the position we put ourselves in as the country we are.
Okay. Mr. Hart for a second time.
I just want to address, it really isn't about feeling bad for people, but we certainly want to be kind and helpful and humane, and I think everybody here agrees with that. I am not the person to defend the scriptures or the use of them, so I won't attempt to do that. I will say some of us were in Springfield last week, and we were able to hear a wonderful speaker, the president of the Illinois Manufacturers Association, which is generally thought of as being a center-right, fairly conservative organization that supports business. His comments on this, and when asked specifically about this, which we got to talk to him, were that employers and our employers in Illinois here need this labor force, that they would be in deep trouble without it. I think that's certainly true in our county as well. Let's be honest, there are magnets that bring migrants here. Those magnets are employment. They're not coming here not to work. So I think we should take a look at who's employing these folks. And a lot of it is agriculture and agriculture-related industry. That's something that we could be addressing here in terms of not allowing that to happen. His thoughts were we need to have a path for these folks, and we very much need these folks for our workforce. But at the same time, things like E-Verify need to be utilized, although it's not perfect. So I guess what I'm saying is it's more than just warm, fuzzy kind of trying to help people. There's some economic realities here. If all of these people were gone tomorrow, some of our employers would have a huge problem. That's just the reality of this. So it's, again, another thing I think we should address. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Deininger for a second time.
673 men have crossed the border on the terrorist watch list. We are up to 15,176 war-aged men from all of the countries that do not support the United States. So, are we going to have a 9/11 on our hands, or what are we going to have? Because the people that continue to cross this border, that we just let in, we don't vet them. The measles is growing. You want to know why? Because it came over the border, along with the fentanyl deaths that are coming from China, the sex trafficking by not only for adults, but also for children. They're killing children and they're sex trafficking children. I'm sorry, it's sick.
All right, anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion and a second as amended on the floor to approve with the amendment stating how the votes were cast by the individuals. If there is nothing else, Madam Clerk, please.
Can I ask for a point of clarification? Ms. Anthony, on your motion, do you want on the resolution to say everyone and how they voted, or just
Just
the
the
number? Just the number, okay. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, Madam Clerk, please take roll on the motion to approve.
Larry Jovers,
Aye.
Brooke Deininger,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester,
Aye.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Steve Frick,
Yes.
Brian Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Whalen,
Yes.
Ronnie Bush,
No.
Samuel Newton,
No.
Luann Hayes,
No.
Casey Anthony,
No.
William Hadley,
Yes.
Jim Hart,
No.
Kurt Copeland,
Yes.
Adam Matero.
No.
Ten A, 6 nay, motion carries.
Okay, moving on to the chairman's report. I will try to be brief for the sake of time. As you're all aware, we went through a strategic planning session in February of 24. The plan was broken out into 7 focus areas. The administrator has sent out an email to everyone within the county that is a department head or employee, as well as board members, looking for volunteers to serve on the committees, the subcommittees that we have. The 7 subcommittees are the focus, I guess I would say, is community safety, economic development, effective government, accessible transportation, reliable communication, health and social services, parks and facilities. These 7 focus groups or subcommittees will report back to public property and safety, planning and development, administration committee, and the nursing home committee, which then those oversight chairs will report to finance. So far, we've had 3 board members reach out and volunteer, so we are looking for volunteers to serve on these subcommittees. So please reach out to the administrator if you would. Do you have a question on that, Ms. Anthony,
I
before I
do,
move on?
thank you. I'm curious just about if there's any, like how often for meeting, and I don't know if each subcommittee's gonna be responsible for kind of coming up with that, but just looking for some kind of idea as far as time commitment goes for each committee.
Really one of those chicken or the egg, which comes first type of thing. I would really, I guess, in my opinion, the best way to approach this is once we have at least 4 members on each committee, have them get together and talk about what it looks like scheduling wise, because everyone's schedule is different. So I don't know if that's necessarily the correct way, but that's the way we're going to go. Okay. If nothing else on that, I will move on with my final item. April is National County Government Month, in case you didn't know. We take our responsibility as good stewards of Stephenson County taxpayer dollars to heart by fulfilling responsibilities such as protecting the safety and well-being of our communities in efficient and cost-effective ways. I'd like to highlight April as County Government Month because for greater awareness and understanding of county services can increase residents' engagement within all of our communities, not only here in Freeport, but in Pearl City, Winslow, German Valley, Kent, Davis, Cedarville, and all the places in between. Engagement paired with intergovernmental partnerships, such as we did with the City of Freeport and the Village of German Valley, can benefit all Stephenson County residents throughout our 565 square mile footprint. Not sure how many of you are aware of this, but counties own and maintain 44% of our nation's roads and 38% of our nation's bridges. In my opinion, that's a staggering amount of infrastructure to manage and fund with limited resources. Counties across the country invest $107 billion in justice and public safety annually, including investments in 911 centers. To me, that last fact is timely, as this week is also National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and our local telecommunicators certainly deserve recognition. These critical employees have heard and responded to just about everything imaginable. In the words of one of our own Stephenson County telecommunicators, Ashley Deutsch, she is quoted as saying, "I've heard a baby's first cry and several people's last breaths. I've taken calls for civil issues, loud music, barking dogs, house fires, fatal car crashes, suicides, homicides, and everything in between." So I would like to personally thank all of our 911 coordinators, especially Ms. June Dillman, Mrs. Denise Book, the chair of the 911 committee, And I would just like to express our gratitude for our own county and city telecommunicators who stand ready at every moment to provide life-saving assistance. And I don't know if any of those individuals are here, but if you are, thank you very much for your service. So with that, I will move on to the committee reports. First up, we have finance. Mr. Whalen, you have an action item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a resolution to amend the fiscal year 24 budget in order to handle an emergency that came up recently here at the courthouse. I will read said resolution pursuant to Chapter 55, Section 5/6, 1003 of the Illinois Metropolitan Statutes. Whereas the American Rescue Plan Act Fund will incur expenses which will result in the expenditure of funds not budgeted for to meet an immediate emergency, and whereas in order to ensure adequate funding for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, it is necessary to increase the amounts within that budget to cover the expenditures. Whereas the courthouse roof and courthouse elevators are in immediate need of emergency repair or replacement, and whereas the cash carried forward and revenue previously budgeted would fund the proposed additional appropriations, and whereas the proposed increase in the courthouse capital repairs line item is available, therefore be it hereby resolved that by 2/3 vote of all members constituting the county board, the board hereby appropriates the following line item, the following amount: Fund 043, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, 043-943-369.80 courthouse capital repairs, the amount of $1 million. Again, this was previously allocated, just was going to be spent in 25, we're moving it up to 24. So I would so move.
Is there a second? Mr. Jogerst. Mr. Hart.
Yes, I'd like to move to make a motion to amend this resolution by increasing the cash carry forward budgeted by $343,000 in the general fund and transfer line item 00300039000, which is the nursing center transfer from general fund line, and applying that line to 00360-260740, which is the nursing center management fees, in order to pay the amount in arrears and bring our account current and avoid the equivalent of a 12% APR. It's 1% each month on our outstanding balance, and any other destructive consequences to the county.
Mr. Hart, just for point of clarification, are you looking to move dollars that Mr. Whalen had made a motion for, those specific dollars, out of the original motion?
No, sir. I'm not looking to move any of the funds of the $1 million. I'm looking to make this amendment while we open the budget to do this. This would all come from the general fund.
Mr. Hart, I'm going to ask the state's attorney to address your amendment.
Well, I can certainly understand how this would make sense intuitively. Reopening the budget in this fashion to meet an immediate emergency isn't a method of opening the budget for any manner of reallocation of dollars. This can only be done to meet an immediate emergency. And in this case, I'm given to understand the issues with the elevator and the roof are an immediate emergency. I don't think it's in order at all to attempt to move other money unrelated to this motion at this time. It's not a full reopening of the budget, and I can understand why you would think that, but that isn't how this works, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Mr. Hart.
I had researched this, and I had spoke with our finance director as well regarding this. I don't know enough about it to argue that point with you. And I hear what you're saying. The fact that we need a 2/3 vote to do this tells me that we are opening the budget. Obviously we are. We're doing it for a purpose. But once that budget is open, it's my understanding that we can make other changes because the budget is over.
No, that's not right.
Okay, so.
There are four, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so what you're saying is statutorily governed.
Yes, there are 4 reasons you can reopen the budget.
Okay.
It's to meet an immediate emergency. It's because revenues were less than what you thought they were. You can transfer appropriations within a single fund so long as you don't change the total amount allocated to that fund, or there's something about like a constitutional convention where you can reopen, which isn't germane here. The only way that would allow kind of a total budget revisioning is if revenues were substantially less than what you expected. And so you're reopening the whole budget to kind of meet that, oh my gosh, our tax revenue was half of what we thought it was and we can't spend, then you can do everything. But everything else, it's got to be specific to what you're addressing. And I think that's the statute. There is some common law about reopening the budget.
Gotcha.
That deals with, when you get mid-year grants that you kind of weren't expecting, so that money wasn't allocated.
Gotcha.
But other than that, that's how you can reopen the budget, the county budget.
That sounds right, and I don't disagree with you. Thank you. I believe you. If you could get me a copy of that so I know for future reference.
Sure.
Or send it to everybody, that would be great.
You bet.
It was just something I thought we could do to save 12% interest, but I take what you're saying and I thank you for your advice. Thanks.
Mr. Hart, are you retracting your motion?
I am retracting my motion.
Thank you. Mr. Hadley.
Yes, I got a real quick question. I'm all for this project, so I'm not against it. We had to report our ARPA funds, how we were going to use them year by year. Is that going to interfere with, wasn't that report due?
December of 2024.
Also, we still have time that we can make the change in that.
Correct. We did the allocation with the budget for 2024 earlier, but we have the deadline for the federal government for those funds of December of 2024. So they have to be spent by 26.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Madam Clerk, please take roll on the motion to approve.
Tim Whalen,
Yes.
Ronnie Bush,
Yes.
Samuel Newton,
Aye.
Luann Hayes,
Aye.
Casey Anthony,
Aye.
William Hadley,
Yes.
Jim Hart,
Yes, ma'am.
Kurt Copeland,
Yes.
Adam Modero,
Aye.
Larry Jogers,
Aye.
Brooke Deininger,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester,
Aye.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Steve Frick,
Yes.
Brian Brandt,
Aye.
16A, 0 nay, motion carries.
Any other information on your committee, Mr. Whalen?
Mr. Chairman, I would just note that, much to Mr. Hart's point about trying to move some money around to take care of one of our contractors that helps manage the nursing center, we have $1.2 million in outstanding revenue that is to be collected. And as soon as that money comes in, there's plenty of money to pay that. So I just want to reiterate that. I want to keep pounding on that point because we see it every month and that number doesn't change. So I don't understand it, but if that revenue would come in, we would have plenty of money to pay them without having to move anything around. No issues. So just for information purposes. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to public property and safety. Mr. Copeland, you have 2 action items.
Yes, Chairman. First action item is the approval of the bid elevator replacement at the courthouse. I'm making a motion to approve. Upon a second, I'll ask Sheriff Stowell to come to the podium and explain the bid.
Right, motion by Mr. Copeland, second by Mr. Newton. Sheriff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, county board members. I have before me, which I'm going to put before you, courthouse elevator replacement project that we are working on. We had one bid come in on an RFP that was out for approximately 28 days. The only bidder had a number of $393,000 to replace both of our elevators. Now, just so everyone understands where we're at, with the elevator and the roof replacement. What we did is obviously going out for RFP for the HVAC system, the elevators, and the roof. We have inspections done. Me being a person that rides each of these elevators every day, I don't know anything other than I hit the button and I get off on the correct floor, thank God. And then if I go up on the roof, I take a look at the roof and there it is. That's all I know. So getting into these RFPs, we were able to establish some of the things that are wrong with a couple of our pieces of equipment here. So you may or may not be aware, but the roof and the elevator are original. They're from the early 1970s. The roof and the elevator have withstood the test of time for decades. However, both have reached the point where their ages possess a significant risk to the well-being and longevity of the courthouse. The courthouse roof and elevators have sustained wear and tear over these past decades and have outlived their life cycles. The signs of deterioration are evident, especially with the recent audits and inspections leading up to the HVAC, elevators, and roof RFPs. For the roof, leaks have become more frequent. It is difficult to locate the originating leak, as there is so much water by the time that we get the leaks onto the floor that when you look up into the ceilings, you can't tell exactly where they're coming from. The patch jobs are obviously old and they are failing. And some of the additional hazards that we may be looking at in the future, if not right now, structural damage, mold and mildew growth. Moisture from the leaking roof creates an ideal environment for mold and mildew to thrive. Mold can spread quickly and cause health issues, especially to individuals with respiratory problems and or allergies. Electrical hazards. Slip and fall risks. Water dripping from a leaky roof can create slippery surfaces on floors, stairs, or walkways, increasing the risk of a slip or a fall to occupants. Damage to belongings. Water seeping into the interior of the buildings can damage furniture, electronics, documents, and other belongings, leading to document and equipment loss. Increased utility bills. Aesthetics. There can also be a chemical hazard associated with roofing materials that I have just learned. It's asbestos. Obviously, this building being built in the 70s, there could be, and there is, asbestos throughout the building. Many older buildings that have these things, if asbestos ends up having water dripping through it, it can actually remove the material from the asbestos pack that is on the pipes, and it can leak down into our floors, and then once that gets into the floor, it continually gets kicked up, so you have asbestos. That could be a problem. Could have some lead. Chemical treatments. Certain roofing materials may have been treated with chemicals for waterproofing, fire resistance, or other purposes. If these chemicals leach onto the water from a roof leak, they can contaminate the indoor environment, posing health risks and heavy metals. For the elevators. From the inspection of the elevators, both units are Westinghouse from the 1970s. They are obsolete and have reached their end of life cycle, which is usually around 25 years. When the elevator reaches their end of life cycle, the reliability of the unit becomes a major concern. The components are no longer being manufactured, which is the case for ours. The original equipment manufacturers, by the original manufacturers, and some can't even be found or refurbished. There are long lead times if they are found at all, or if they can be custom made. Both units have power unit leaks. Both have doors and operators that are worn out. Each have contact and control relays that are worn out as they are past their life cycles. During the bidding process, it was explained to me that not all of the modification plans are required to have new doors. In our case, there was a special add-on due to the poor condition of our doors that cannot be reused. If the unit goes down, the part needed cannot be found, it will be starting the process from the beginning, which could cause about a 16 to 18 week delay, which means our elevators are not usable for 16 to 18 weeks. Some of the other potential hazards are mechanical failures, safety features, electrical issues. Wiring and electrical components in older elevators may not meet current safety standards. Malfunctions or shorts in electrical systems can pose fire hazards and lead to power outages, potentially trapping passengers inside the elevator, which has happened here in Stephenson County Courthouse. Slip, trip, and fall risks, door entrapments, accessibility concerns, lack of regular maintenance, and then code compliance. Elevator safety codes and regulations have evolved over time. With newer standards incorporating enhanced safety features and requirements, elevators installed in the 70s may not meet the current requirements and pose additional safety risks. Both of our elevators do not have certain items in them that we are required to have. Hopefully, by getting new elevators, we will be up to compliance. We cannot delay this action any longer. The urgency of replacing the roof and the elevators cannot be overstated. With each passing day, the risks escalate. I urge each of you to recognize the urgency of this situation.
Thank you, Sheriff. Are there any questions for Sheriff Scoble? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, motion a second to approve the bid of the elevator replacement at the courthouse. Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Kurt Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Mottero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Holmes.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Yes, ma'am.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Aye.
16 A, 0 nay. Motion carries.
Very good. Mr. Whalen, your second item, please. Or Mr. Copeland, I apologize.
Thank you. Randy, have you there for a minute.
Second item is the approval of the intergovernmental agreement with Stephenson County School Districts and the Sheriff's Office. If I have a second, I'll make a motion to approve. If I have a second, I'll have Sheriff Stowell explain what's in it.
All right, motion by Mr. Copeland, second by Mr. Brandt. Go ahead, Sheriff Scoble.
I will keep this brief. What I'm doing is reaching out to all the schools in Stephenson County, making sure that we have a good working relationship. The Stephenson County Sheriff's Office, all of the resources that come with me or that I know about, entering any type of a school during a crisis or a pre-crisis or a post-crisis is very important. We want to take care of our children, our teachers, all the staff, and all the parents that are involved in any of these types of crises. And I don't have to name any of them. All you have to do is look at the paper and see how a kid is affected. So one of the first things that I've learned after a long process, which has taken me about 4 months to get to this point, as I keep learning more, is I need to have a reciprocating reporting agreement to each of the schools so that way we can talk freely. So what that is in a nutshell, a reciprocal reporting agreement between law enforcement and schools refers to a formal arrangement or understanding between these two entities to share information regarding incidents or concerns involving students. The goal is to promote safety and security within the school environment and the surrounding community. So what we're going to do is we will now understand and partner in what we can and cannot share legally. So we won't be asking for anything that we know we can't get, and they won't be offering anything that they know that they can't give. Thank you.
Any questions for Sheriff Scoble?
I do have one more comment. So the one that's in front of you actually says Orangeville on that. What I'm looking for is a vote to take care of or blanket the entire school district in Stephenson County. So any of the schools that are in Stephenson County, I would like this approved so that way I can just go out to them and I don't have to come back and get a vote for each and every school. Thank you.
So are you asking for an amendment on this, Sheriff Scoble?
I believe that was the exact motion that we did in committee.
So we can do this a couple of ways, Mr. Copeland. You can retract your motion and Mr. Brandt can retract the second and we can amend it, or you can just make a motion to amend right now.
I'll make a motion to amend to Orangeville School District. That's right.
I'm not sure that's what the sheriff just requested.
Be Stephenson County amended to that.
Okay, could you please restate it for the clerk?
I'll make a motion to approve.
To amend.
To amend the resolution to include Stephenson County. Stephenson County Schools.
So you're replacing Orangeville schools with Stephenson County schools, is that correct?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Mr. Brandt will second the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Madam Clerk, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other discussion on the original motion as amended? Mr. Frick, go ahead.
Just one question to the sheriff. Does that include, are you able to work with the schools that have area within our county, but they're not?
German Valley, yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are specifically as Forestville. Yes, I am.
Anything else, Mr. Frick? Seeing no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Anything else out of your committee, Mr. Copley?
I have some information from the Sheriff's Department. There's a deputy graduating from PTI on April 25th, and there's one currently in the FTO program, a deputy, that should be graduating next month. There's two leaving deputies going through PTI in May, and one correctional officer. The EMA director will be picking up the UTV next week, and there also is a deputy that's going to be permanently assigned to the crime suppression unit, and that'll be the first one, and with more to be coming.
All right, thank you, Mr. Copley. We'll move on to the Administration Committee. Mr. Jogers, you have 3 action items, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The first two, item 15 in your packet, approval to adopt County Code Chapter 38-12 for waiver and release of liability for contractors and vendors. And item 16, approval of waiver and release of liability agreement for contractors and vendors. I would like to make a motion to adapt both of these with one vote as they go together, and I can explain if I get a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Modero. So the motion to approve is both the first and second item, correct?
First and second item. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Jogers.
Thank you, Chairman. Basically what this new code does, it will now require any contractor to provide a proof of insurance or sign a release of liability waiver. Most of our contractors already do this as by proof of insurance. This will just help cover the county with any liability issues that may arise. As a further note, the example of the certificate of insurance in your packet, I received that from Kerry McWright from Diamond Brothers, just so our department heads can ensure that the certificate of insurance has all the necessary information included on that, and then the waiver and release agreement came from Mr. Larson, our state's attorney. So that's all I have on that.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve the first and second item. Madam Clerk, please take roll on this.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Aye.
Nicole Baker. Aye. Steve Frick.
Yes.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Yes.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Modero.
Aye.
16 A, 0 nay, motion carries.
Your final item, Mr. Jogers?
Yeah, lastly, approval of the CrowdStrike renewal for 2024. I'd like to make a motion to approve this necessary cybersecurity software. The price is $36,587.49. If I get a second, I can explain where it's coming out of the budget.
I'll second.
Okay.
Second
Thank
by
you.
Ms. Deininger. Go ahead.
Mr. Louie, our IT manager, he's got $34,000 designated for this in this 2024 budget. Came in a little bit higher than we projected, but he was going to take the other $2,600 from another line item in his IT budget, so that's where it's going to get paid out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion and questions? Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Brian Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Yes, ma'am.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kurt Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Modero.
Aye.
16 A, 0 nay, motion carries.
Any other information out of your committee, Mr. Jogers?
That's all this time.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Bush, you have no action items. Any information out of your committee and court services?
No more than we awarded the youth diversion fees out to 4 different agencies, but other than that, that's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Mrs. Baker, nursing, no action items. Any information?
Yes, just congratulations to Cheryl on her years of experience or service at the nursing center. We will have the RFP coming for the rooftop in May, Census is at 49, and that is all the information I have.
All right, thank you. Miss Anthony.
Thank you. I would like to follow up on the emails we've been receiving from Mike Filippo from Transitional Care Management regarding, he sent one to us prior to the previous county board meeting last month, and then he followed up again this month. So I certainly don't want that to continue to be ignored. In the contract that this county board signed with Transitional Care Management, it does state in 3.2 that Transitional Care Management will supervise the work of the administrator and has the right to recommend termination when we think it's appropriate, among other things. I'm not sure what's different now than when Transitional Care Management first started. The first two administrators, Shannon Harris and then Ivy Gleason, it seemed like there was much more of a collaboration between the administrator and Transitional Care Management, and the contract was being honored in that way as TCM was supervising both of those administrators and they were working collaboratively. It doesn't seem right now that our current interim administrator has that understanding. Just in things I've heard, and also it just doesn't always seem like they're on the same page even at the nursing home committee meetings. And they should be, because they are working together to run the Stephenson Nursing Center. Then going forward, he brings out to light just the administrator that they were recommending. In the past, they brought forth those recommendations, and we honored their recommendations and hired those people, both for permanent, being Shannon, and intern being Ivy. And now we have a whole other process in place than was before with this small group that's interviewing administrators and not even bringing those people forward to the rest of the committee, which I think is unacceptable and not transparent. I'm not the only person who keeps asking about it. I know that one of those committee members in that small committee has asked for that person to be re-interviewed, and that has not gone, that has not been honored. Financial information was included in Mike Filippo's email regarding the difference. We all know that an interim administrator costs substantially more than a permanent administrator, and they brought forth a permanent administrator. And then, last but not least, just bringing up again 4.2, that the operator and will fully cooperate with the manager. So we will fully cooperate with Transitional Care Management. And part of that cooperation is honoring the contract that we agreed to, we signed it. So again, I'm not quite sure why that's not happening. I don't think that it's good business. I'm not sure why we continue to kind of push. It's okay to question the contractors to make sure that they're doing what we want them to, but we do a lot more than that. We're not even paying them, and they continue to do work for us when they have continually saved us money. They have worked with the state to reduce fines that we've incurred. They've improved efficiencies. I could go on and on. You've all heard me say it before. But ignoring the emails, the requests from Transitional Care Management, I don't think is appropriate or professional either. So I just wanted to make sure and bring that up, and I think that it does need to be addressed. It was addressed here because it's not being addressed to what they're saying is full cooperation in the committee. So I'm not saying that we should discuss it tonight, but I do request that it be discussed in committee next month at minimum, if we aren't going to discuss it today. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bush.
Yes, just kind of go on what Casey has brought up. The committee has met, and right now we pretty much put that on hold, but I did mention to Casey that what my feeling is that we will. Now, I don't think we should just open it up for just one candidate. It was two candidates, and if we're going to do a re-interviewing, it should be for both candidates, not just one. Now, my question is that with all these emails that's been going on, yeah, he outlined in the contract this and that and other, but he hasn't stated the reason why he wants the board to fire the interim director. That's the question I have, you know. Why? I understand about the contract, but I'd at least like to know why you are so adamantly to fire the interim director.
Okay, Mr. Whalen?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. I find it interesting. I went out and talked to a few folks that work out there today and took some time to put faces with names, and I just wanted to make sure I had a better understanding. And I had some very positive comments about our interim administrator. So I'm really troubled by the insistency that we see from our contractor on this. And I agree with Mr. Bush. I haven't seen any reasoning, paper or otherwise, as to why they want to get rid of our current interim administrator. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to planning and development. Mr. Frick, you have no action items. Any information on your committee?
A couple of information items. First of all, if you notice under new business, we had a discussion on the landings and park maintenance, and we're glad to say that we're going to take a handle on that to make sure that we keep those more up to date and cleaned up. And we've had some discussion, and Mr. Remmers has come back to help us a little bit with some of the construction cleanup projects that need to be done there, and that's all being done within budget. And last, we support as a county, as a county board, UI Extension, and they're providing some things for us. If you're interested, in May they're having some webinars. One of them is on rural vitality in northern Illinois, where some researchers are providing their overview on what drives our rural economies, if you're looking for some information on that. Later in the month, they have a session on Freedom of Information Act and how that can appropriately work and how it should work. And they also have one on the Open Meetings Act, if you have questions on that. And lastly, later in the month, they will be having a webinar on the Illinois Climate Bank, which provides a funding role to help communities like ours advance energy and climate resiliency. So as others, if you want more information, contact me, or if you look at University of Illinois Extension, you can find these webinars available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frick. And if you don't mind, I will add that the sheriff is putting video cameras, surveillance cameras out at the Kent Monument, which I think we've been hoping to have done for quite some time, so that's going to be in place as well. So thank you, Mr. Frick. Public Works, I don't know, Mr. Brandt, if Mr. Newton is handling this or you're handling this.
I'm up.
All right.
What's your?
Go ahead, Mr. Brandt. You have 2 action items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 action items tonight. The first one is the approval of payment processing contract agreement for animal control. And with that second, I would like to make the motion to approve that. And with a second, I'd like to invite somebody to come up.
I'll second.
By Ms. Deininger. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Kristen, if you would just state your name for everyone so they know who you are, please.
Kristen Lau. So we currently use AllPay for our payments, and the program we use is Shelter Boss, and we asked them what payments worked best for them, and they said GovPay actually is intertwines better with them than AllPay. The only difference for our users, it would be like 2 cents more of their service charge. So like right now it's the $39 tag would be $40.15 in the current system, and with the GovPay it will be like $40.17. So it's just a little. There is the GovPay has an app also, so it's even more user friendly than our AllPay. Right now with the AllPay, we have to enter the information, the owner's information once, and then when we get to the payment screen, we have to enter everything again. Where this, you can slide a card, it comes up for both spots, so it saves time. Otherwise, nothing really is gonna change. We're gonna still keep AllPay for a little bit. We're not breaking any contracts. We actually are with part of the health department kind of, so there's no contract break. So we'll keep it until we get our QR code out there And then even if somebody uses it a year down the road, it's not like we're missing that money. It will still come to our account and email me saying, you know, so-and-so paid for a tag. So even if somebody still uses All Pay, we'll still be able to accept the payments. It's just a little easier for everybody, I think, with the GovPay. And I think GovPay was originally All Pay, and then they separated. And then they also are working into doing an actual dog registration program. So, and they said that would be intertwined with our shelter track, so then people can actually download their rabies certificate right to the app, and we can get it that way instead of waiting for the vet to give it to us if they didn't do it at the vet.
Any questions for Director Lau?
Thank you.
It's better than morning.
Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Brian Durant.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Yes, ma'am.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Mottero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yeah.
15A, 1 nay. Motion carries.
All right, very good. Your final item, Mr. Frank.
The last item is the approval of a broom attachment for the highway skid loader. This item failed to make our committee, so we brought it to the full board so this could be awarded. The highway department has looked at various bids. They are looking at accepting one from Hennessy for $7,785. So with this, I move to approve.
All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Jogers, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other information out of the committee, Mr. Newton or Mr. Brandt?
All is well.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Is there any public comment? Please state your name.
Dan Stevens, Village Voices. Some of you know me, some of you hate me. It's okay. Normally, I just want to observe and report, not participate. And regardless of the animosities and some of the headaches that go back and forth between you guys, you have no idea how much more professional you are than the Freeport City Council. I just got to say that. But it's because of them that I'm here, because of the things that I'm learning from them. Everything you do, from when the gavel comes down to start the meeting at 6:30 until it comes down to adjourn, is part of the public record. So all the little computers that you have, those are provided by the county. That's fine. That's all monitored and everything. But the minute any one of you pulls out one of these and starts doing stuff, that's subject to FOIA. That means that everything you did, whatever the text is, whatever the text you received, whatever website you checked, whatever Cub score you were looking up, could be FOIA'd, and you would have to provide it. So you would have to go to your provider, get a printout of every text that was sent and received and everything you did. I don't want to do that. Okay? 6 of you violated this puppy tonight. I'm giving you a free pass. Just please, don't do it again. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Any other public comments?
My name is Lori Youngblood. I'm disappointed in the absolute waste of time the administrative committee spent on a resolution which means nothing. Declaring migrant refugees aren't welcome in Stephenson County goes against the Christian values projected in every prayer before each county meeting. It is sad to see people on this board, in this room, and in this county who will romanticize serving on mission trips in counties where many of these migrants originate but won't welcome them to their own dinner table. This resolution neglects to acknowledge the industries within this county which are able to thrive with the workers, documented or not. Many are paid below the poverty line. Let's not pretend to turn a blind eye to those businesses within the county which are able to operate on this workforce while then projecting it harms the citizens of the county. This resolution wastes county resources, fear mongers, doesn't follow facts or data, and it negates to acknowledge the contributions of workers, documented or undocumented, to our local infrastructure. And it's just political gamesmanship. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, there is no new business. Is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Bush, is there a second? Mrs. Hayes, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.